Hello and welcome everyone to the movement phase of German Turn 1 of Arnhem 44. And as I promised during my previous video, I was still going to explain to you how bombardment works because I actually carried out one. You can see here that the British airborne artillery, which has a range of 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, bombarded this hex because this German recon unit used to be in there. As you can see, the bombardment didn't amount to much because otherwise that unit probably wouldn't have been here. What happens during a bombardment is artillery units, could be airborne artillery, regular artillery, German 88s, you can see one here, or self-propelled artillery, which is not on the board yet, but that could be an option too. They can perform a bombardment action, and what happens then is they have a combat factor of 2 always, plus a die roll. Well, in this case I rolled a 1 plus the 2 from the bombarding artillery unit makes for 3, but then you have a bombardment table on page 15 in the rule book, and I attacked a recon unit, so that's -1. The target was also in a broken hex, which is this type of terrain over here, so that adds another -1. So the result was simply A1 with all the minuses. So then you would just go to the combat's result table, and a 1 would mean no hit. So nothing happened there. Here you have some play arrays that I printed out that I actually made myself. I also posted them in the file section on Board Game Geek for those of you who are interested. And here I, for instance, spelled out the bombardment sequence, which is pretty handy. The rulebook, it's complete, but there's a lot of text, and things that should go together don't always go together. Few illustrations. Now I didn't use any, frankly speaking, in my own playwrights either, but I did try to organize it in such a way that it would be easier to find, basically, and that all the information goes together. Okay, so I put some cones in here which again do not come with the game. I just use them for illustration purposes of what I did in the German movement phase. The bombardment actually took place during the combat phase of the British, or of the Allies, because the Americans actually attacked too. So units enter the board in various places. It's actually shown on the reinforcement charts. These were the German units that entered play on turn 1. There were already some units on the board at setup. Setup is explained in the rulebook itself. So these are the units that actually come into play on the first German turn. You can see them here. It's all explained, and also the hexes on which they enter. So there were 2 German infantry units, SS units, that entered over here between this hex and I believe it's this hex over here. But so what I did is this one I put right next to the Allied airborne unit, so as to basically try and lock it into place as well, or put the drop zone under some kind of pressure. It couldn't move any further because this way it moved into an Allied hex, into a ZOC, sorry. So it cannot move directly from one ZOC into another. It could move here and then there, but here it's better protected itself because it has some cover from the woods. The other Allied, sorry, not Allied, the other German SS infantry that entered the board over here went to the town, and will probably try on subsequent turns to make its way along the road. These small roads are called trails. They cost 1 movement point per hex, and the larger ones are actual roads. They cost half a movement point per hex, and infantry and artillery units, for that matter, have a movement value of 7. So you can count for yourselves how much it would be, but it can easily reach this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, this one was actually 7 because moving into a town also costs 1 movement point, so not that easily perhaps, but it just managed to move there. In many games, moving into a town is actually a bit more costly than in this game, but I suppose the logic behind that would be that there are always some trails, alleyways, small dust roads or paved roads or whatever in that town and around it, which would make it a bit easier to move. I suppose that's the logic behind it. This German unit just stayed in place because it also exerts a zoc around it, locking this unit basically in place. Let's see, 2 units enter the board here, shown with the purple cones and the beige ones. The orange ones are from the actually, I don't quite remember which one that was. I think it was this infantry unit that already started setup. It moved here, also locking this one into place. The German armor unit, which is actually a Stug, moved into here as well from off board, and the recon unit is denoted by the green cones, half a movement point, another half a movement point. You don't pay extra for a road bridge, and then they moved into the town, but they have a movement value of 12, so usually those guys are pretty fast and can make it across the map pretty easily. Over here near Nijmegen and the Groesbeek Heights, we have one German infantry that was already in place, and the other one was over here and it moved into there as well. This makes them pretty strong defensively because they're in a town hex and they can try and put some pressure together on some American units over there. The recon unit that survived the bombardment moved into Nijmegen to protect the vital bridge over here as it was historically. So now there's an infantry unit and a recon unit, which definitely makes it stronger against the American airborne units moving in, and with possible artillery support. And over here in the south we have 2 German infantry that joined up with this one. One actually literally joined up with it in the same hex. Is a stacking limit of 2 infantry, 1 armor, and 1 artillery, or if you have fewer than 4 units, a recon unit can always be added to it no matter what the composition. Those are the stacking limits, and the other infantry unit moved over here. So if the Allied unit decides to stay into place, it will now actually be outnumbered in combat strength. So this is what happened during the German movement phase. I also explained how bombardment works, which happened on the previous Allied turn. And next up, we'll have the German combat phase. Again, thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this video.